Welcome to the Rocky and Meisty show presented by Jew Stool. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Let's get right into it.
You're completely missing the boat, Amr. You're at the wrong dock.
I'd have to say this. If he's looking to go to a new team, the last thing he wants to do is be like, oh, I'm not. No, he's got to show up. And he's got to show the Browns, you just lost $250 million by not playing, by not giving me that money. You're going to give it to him? Go for it.
This is crazy. Tyreek killed one of the Dolphins for 5 hits. Second to division. Should we end the podcast now? I bet breaking news. Should we end it now? Now or later? Which one? I walk out right now. Hear it first.
That's asinine. You're crazy.
He's got the full package.
No way. I don't care. No way. I can't even. It's hard to even look at you right now when you say something like that. That's crazy.
We want to talk about legacy-defining plays. And legacy-defining plays take 13 seconds, and you get the ball in field goal range. That is absolutely insane.
I'm going to be frank with you guys. Mitch Trubisky is not a good NFL quarterback. He has never been.
Okay. And guess what? In basketball, you use the basketball. In football, you use the football.
Okay, breaking news, guys. Baker Mayfield. How many breaking news segments have we had around Baker Mayfield this year? I think under 4. Are we going over? Or are we going under?
Over.
Under. Over? No. Okay, we did. Okay, first Baker got traded. Then Baker became the starter over Darnold. He won the job. And then he got benched.
Right. Then he got released.
And now he's got inside. You were right.
Oh, and then he got his job back. No, he got his job back against.
As if you wanted to count him now going or getting injured, because he did get injured at some point this season also, right? So
yeah, and he got So
he's been in the headlines. Anyway, we're going to discuss Baker. We're going to discuss Jimmy G. We thought maybe there was some correlation between that. We'll get to the pick'ems as well, of course. But how are we feeling today, Meisty? How are we feeling about a fresh week of football?
Can't complain. Here we go. I mean, as we always say, it's getting sadder and sadder as the time goes away, and the weeks tick on, and they're coming up fast, and no one's excited for football to end, and with these bye weeks, a lot of bye weeks in the fantasy world, and oh boy, a lot to get to.
Yeah, those bye weeks were certainly catch us off guard to have a bye week when everyone's competing for a playoff spot this week, right? This is the last week of the season, so it definitely caught us off guard. Let's get rolling with talk about a little about Baker. Morty's back with us this week, so we're glad to have him. And Baker, it's been signed by the Rams, which is an interesting, right? They were pretty up there on the waiver order. I believe waiver order goes based off current record, I think. I don't really know how it works exactly, to be honest. But point being that it's an interesting strategy. I mean, I think what the Rams are trying to do is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Meisty, maybe you have a different perspective on this, but, Matthew Stafford's done for the year. It's not like the Rams are doing anything this year. They're 3-8, right? The odds of them making the playoffs are slim to none. I mean, in a couple weeks they'll probably be mathematically eliminated. So it's not like this was a this-year move. Maybe see what they have in him. Maybe they'll sign him to another one-year deal after this year. I mean, or just to not look like a disaster, maybe have some pride for the rest of the year because you're the defending Super Bowl champs. I think it's either one of those two options because otherwise I don't see it as maybe we can win the last 6 games, be 9-8, and make the play. I mean, Baker Mayfield's not going to do that for you, right? You're not going to win the last 6, whatever it is, 6 games from a Baker Mayfield. But the only thing I see this is either a pride thing or it's, maybe they'll see what they have him in next year because Matthew Stafford, honestly, I have a take, Matt. I think Stafford's going to retire after this year. I mean, he got a Super Bowl. He's injured now. What does he need this headache for anymore? I mean, he's done everything he could. He is what he is. He's a pretty good quarterback. He's been that his entire career. He reached the pinnacle. Time for him to walk away, Meisty.
Totally agree, and I would have totally said the same thing at some point in this podcast had it come up. I heard a lot of people talking about it, and I'm like, that's so true. I looked into his injury. The spinal injury, people don't come back so much. You don't bounce back healthy from a spinal injury like that. He's older, like you said, he's got his Super Bowl ring. He should have, by the way, legendary move would have been to retire last year. You win your Super Bowl after all these years and walk. It would have been great. Now, he's injured, and I don't know. I think the reason, but to going on the Baker thing here, I think the main reason why they signed Baker Mayfield is because they didn't want the 49ers to sign him. That's about, I think, the only reason.
They're not competitive.
Are you thinking like the 49ers with Baker? So, okay, here's the thing, right? With Trey Lance, they struggled with Trey Lance because the play is hike and give it to like we said, you gotta just hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey, or you gotta throw it to Deebo Samuel on the slant, right? The issue with Trey Lance is that he is better than that. He's a playmaker, so he can make plays. And they just weren't working out those plays, right? But like with Jimmy G, it's like Jimmy G's perfect for like, here, give the ball to Deebo as quick as possible, or hand it off to Christian McCaffrey. That's all you have to do, and like that is a winning formula behind a great defense. But in general, Baker Mayfield, and I don't know, he's not awful. He's not great. But like I don't know. I don't know what the Rams are really doing. Honestly, it's silly. But like you said, pride. Just go out, hope to try to win some games down the stretch. But if I were them, I'll try to lose games. Maybe
exactly. It's all about draft order at this point of the season for the Rams, you know. And it's not like
you're Baker Mayfield to lose some games.
Nah, there's your reverse psychology over there. I like it. So, yeah, speaking of which, I mean, Baker's just been awful this year. Right? This has been the worst year of his career, and he's had some pretty bad years, along with some pretty good years in his career. But, 3 turnover-worthy plays, seven turnover-worthy plays, only 3 big-time throws this year, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Numbers are not good. I mean, his average depth of target is 6.7. It just hasn't been pleasant for Baker at all this year. You haven't really seen any upside throws, with the exception of one game against the Niners where he had a couple big throws, and then you had the week 1 to Robbie Anderson against the Browns, and that was that pretty. You can literally tell me the throw. We remember the only good throws Baker had this year. The only throws 30 yards or more down the field were like explosive throws. I mean, in past years he's had many of those, right? Even last year, which wasn't good, he had 20 of those big-time throws, upside throws. This year, it's just been a very low ceiling and a low floor for Baker Mayfield. So it's been a really bad year for him. Now, you want to say that they're preventing the Niners from getting him. So in a general year where the Rams will be competing in the division, I would agree with that. But the Rams have, it's not even, they're not even looking at the Niners right now. They're 5 games behind them with 5 games left. It's not even feasible for them. So, yeah, it's a mystery.
It's still Kyle Shanahan versus Sean McVay. It's who can outsmart who. It's always going to be that way. I wouldn't have been shocked if Pete Carroll would have pulled the trigger and signed him. I don't know, but you're right. It's not that has to make sense, but we'll run with it. That's my take.
Fair enough. Speaking of Kyle Shanahan, he's going to lose his quarterback for the rest of the year in Jimmy G. And, we discussed earlier in the season, I actually wrote an article about it, about Trey Lance going out for the season. The Niners sort of invested a lot in him to get him. What's up?
There's a chance that Jimmy G might be able to come back before the end of the season. He might be playoff ready. Right.
So 8 weeks, they said. I saw that report today. So he doesn't need surgery. So 8 weeks, but there's definitely the rest of the regular season, perhaps the entire season for the playoffs as well. But as I was saying, Trey Lance, they did give up a lot to get him, and that didn't work out. He just got injured very early in the season. And then Jimmy G came in and sort of, did enough for this team to be really good. They have twice as many wins as they do losses. But now, looks like he can potentially be out for the rest of the season, even through the playoff run. We'll see what happens with that. Listen, I have conflicted thoughts on this, Meisty, but how big of a loss do you think this is for the Niners?
Look, I think that they're quarterback proof. As long as you can throw the ball slant to Deebo Samuel or hand it off to Christian McCaffrey, like I said, that's a winning formula. Their defense is good enough to play good defense and make stops, and the offense just has to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and not turn the ball over. If they don't turn the ball over, they should be able to score almost every time down the field. And it's a winning formula, and it's great coaching. So I don't like they last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, they got to the NFC Championship game and back-to-back years, even whatever it's been, and they've been to Super Bowls, and so just keep doing what they're doing. Just replace Jimmy G with the same Jimmy G style quarterback.
I agree with you to a certain extent. Meaning, I've been very critical of Jimmy G. I just don't think he's that good. I think the only reason they started him throughout the playoff run last year was because at least he doesn't make mistakes. That is not true. Jimmy G had the second highest turnover-worthy play rate in the league, just behind Ben Roethlisberger. So he's putting the ball in harm's way just as much as anyone in the league last year. So that misconception that, Jimmy G's the safe bet, that is not true. This year he sort of has been, though. He's sort of been taking care of the ball. You still don't see the upside from him. That's who Jimmy G is. He doesn't have a big-time arm. He doesn't have an incredible amount of talent. but he's been more of the game manager, which is exactly what you need for San Francisco, Meisty, right? So I don't love him. I don't think he's that good, but I think he's good enough with a tons of talent around him to make that team succeed. Now you bring in Brock Purdy. What's his name? Brock Purdy? Is that his name?
Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant, last pick of the draft, Brock Purdy. Listen, there were people saying that like he's more of a sort of a game manager type too, like you were saying, Meisty, similar type of play style, but his ceiling is so low. I mean, there's no upside throws in him. Everything's gonna be dink and dunk. It's gonna be very short. It's just the problem is you brought Nick Mullins in and you brought CJ Beathard in there, and the times, Meisty, that Jimmy G has not started, like you had CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins, it's been a disaster. So although Jimmy G is not that good, he's good enough with a great team around him to succeed. But when you bring a guy that's just not good at all, like a guy like CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins, and maybe Brock Purdy, depending on how he plays, that can hurt them. That can hurt them.
They signed Josh Johnson.
Yeah, Josh Johnson. It's the 13th team I think that he's been on. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he's been on like half the teams in the league. But the one thing that I think is a convincing sign, Meisty, is that the Niners probably will make the playoffs. So with that being said, you get to the playoffs, like Morty said, maybe he'll come back. Even if he doesn't, never know what could happen. So
if Brock Purdy gets them to the playoffs, or they're gonna bench him in favor of what's his name, right?
Of Jimmy G.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if Brock Purdy gets into the playoffs, it won't necessarily be because it could be in spite of him. Meaning they can win 2 games, win 2 games down the stretch, 2 out of their last 5 games, end the season with 2 wins to make the playoffs. It's not that big of a deal.
If he wins them a playoff game.
Okay, that's a different.
Rocky. It depends on his play. It's straight. It's simple. If his play is he comes out looking like Peyton Manning right now. He starts making crazy throws and great decisions, and starts putting. And then obviously they're just going to run him through and keep playing with him. But if he sits there and he's just barely scraping through, and just because they have a good defense and they're kicking field goals to win games, they're going to put Jimmy Garoppolo right back in.
I agree.
If anyone should know, it's me. Never count out the backup quarterback.
Right. I mean, right. No, correct. And by the way, in 1990, a lot of people actually forget about it. Phil Simms was the starting quarterback for the Giants. He went out and I think week 13, week 14, it was similar to the Eagles situation. Jeff Hostetler came in, and everyone counted out the Giants. They said, forget it. Starting quarterback's out, and same exact thing happened. What happened was they got the bye because they were already in great position. Phil Simms, sort of got injured in week 16, and Jeff Hostetler led into the Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. Nick Foles, Morty, actually, little known thing, was the second player to win a Super Bowl as a backup quarterback. Second backup quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So it's happened before, but it's rare, few and far in between. And my point in this whole thing is, yes, Meisty, it's gonna depend on his performance, but they can make the playoffs, and he wasn't playing particularly well. You know what I'm saying? So just because they make the playoffs with Brock Purdy, you're going to tell me, oh, they made the playoffs, now they're going to bench him? No, they're already in a great position to make the playoffs. If they can make the playoffs just by squeaking out a couple games, I'm going to look at their schedule over here, but they can make the playoffs just by squeaking out a couple games, and he doesn't have to play for Meisty. So, yeah, you could bench him. They got the Bucks, they got the Seahawks, they got the Commanders, they got the Raiders, they got the Cardinals. I mean, you could easily win 2 of those games. You don't even need a good quarterback.
The game-winning Super Bowl quarterback in the Ravens' first Super Bowl was a backup.
Trent Dilfer?
No, Dilfer got hurt in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, but Trent Dilfer technically was a backup. He didn't start the season. Tony Banks did. So that's a good point as well. But that's different. That's a different type of backup. That was like 5th week of the season. Then they already switched from Tony Banks to Trent Dilfer. That also was the best defense of all time. So.
Yeah. Still gotta give the man credit. He didn't Carson Wentz and do enough to make his team lose.
Yeah, fair enough. He did what he had to do, but his job is fairly easy, right? I mean, we think Tua's job is easy. I mean, all that man had to do is don't turn the ball over and give the ball to Jamal Lewis. It's a very.
A lot of quarterbacks in this league, like Nathan Peterman, who just can't not turn the ball over.
That's true. If they had Nathan Peterman, it might have been a different story. But in conclusion, I think we're pretty much in agreement that as long as he doesn't play horrible, the Niners should make the playoffs, and then we'll see if Jimmy G can come back. That's the bottom line. And if not, it's gonna be exciting to see another backup quarterback try to make a playoff run, a Super Bowl run over here. Let's see where we can go over there. All right, so I think we'll move on to the pick'ems, unless you guys have any final thoughts on the Jimmy G situation. But I think we're going to move on over there. So let's go to Thursday Night Football and start with that. That's an interesting game. I don't really know. I wish they could flex Thursday Night Football. You know, like, I don't think they could, right? Monday night and Thursday night can't be flexed, the two games. But Raiders at Rams. I mean, goodness gracious. Lord help us. Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Raiders here. The Raiders are hot. They have three straight wins. 2 games, just like, you know, firing on all cylinders, winning walk-off overtime victories. They beat a good Seahawks team last week. And all of a sudden, they beat a Chargers team that was square in the playoff run and knocked them out of the playoff run last week. I mean, they played a great game. That game actually looked a lot closer than it was, 27-20. But that was because Justin Herbert chucked up a 4th and 13 at the end of the game, and somehow they scored a touchdown to Keenan Allen, like a 40-yard with 5 minutes left. So, end of the day, Raiders dominated. The Rams just a disaster right now. Despite hanging with the Seahawks last week and, you know, putting up a decent fight with the Chiefs the week before. Raiders are hot. They got the firepower. I need Devontae Adams to come through to make the playoffs this week, so let's go Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, Raiders are hot. Raiders are hot. That is the key thing here. And I don't know. I mean, they won 3 straight or 3 out of the last 4?
3 straight, baby.
Yeah, so
Raiders.
Raider Nation. No, I think that their struggles early in the season were completely fluky, and now they get that with Devontae Adams, I think that they'll just keep forcing him the ball. I even think that they should roll over the Rams.
Yeah, I agree. Who you got, Morty?
I don't know. I don't care for either of these teams. I'll take the Rams points just to cover the +6.
What's a +6?
Yeah.
Well, are you going to take the Raiders to win or the Rams to win?
We have to discuss the way we've been doing this because it makes 0 sense to me. The way you can pick a team to win, then also cover the spread is essentially 2 picks in our system. It makes 0 sense.
Are you allowed to bet that in general? Are you allowed to do that? Like, if you go to Vegas, are you allowed to bet a team to win, but then the other team to cover the spread?
You can bet them individually. I don't know if you can parlay them. I'm sure. Why not, Aaron?
No, you can't parlay.
You
can't parlay.
You can't parlay. So we're pretty much going with the parlay system, meaning it has to be parallel to what you're actually allowed.
Parlay it.
Right. So you're saying you shouldn't be allowed to bet one team. So if you're going to bet a team to cover a spread, you have to bet them to win. Pretty much what you're saying.
No, you're only betting the spread.
You're only betting the spread. Okay, I mean, look, we could do that. We could start that next year, but we have like 4 games left. So
it hasn't made sense to me since the beginning of last year.
I hear. Listen, I hear where you're coming from. I always am open to a better system. There's no question about it. But fine. So you want to start it this week? Start it like this?
It's for me. I'll just take it. Just for me.
Oh yeah, no, because you have nothing to lose. That's a point. I'm not gonna, you know.
Yeah.
It has to be fair game. It has to be fair game.
Not really. I mean, yes, it should be fair game, but we've had missed weeks already, and it doesn't mean you should lose your worst week at all. I think people just miss out if you don't get your picks in. You don't get your picks in.
Fine, fair enough. If that's your decision, that's what you want to do. I agree. But
if you want to put yourself up as a sacrificial lamb, and give up a week worth of picks, you're welcome to. I personally would never.
Granted. So go ahead.
Like, screw us. Yeah, like screw me for not getting it.
Yeah, Rocky, you're the point czar here. So you are judge, jury, and executioner. You do what you want. This is just the commoners, the common folk.
But fine. Being that it's your
pitchforks.
Being that it's your bet, so you can choose to either just pick the spread because it makes more sense to you, or you can choose with the faulted system to pick a team to win and the spread. It's up to you. Because it's your pick.
I think Aaron is the manager of the podcast sportsbook here, so it goes through Aaron.
Meistys Moneyline. All right, we'll give it for now. We'll just give you the teams.
Just give me the spread. Just give me the spread.
Okay, we'll give you the spread. And if you get it, you get the 2 points.
Yes. If I don't get it, I get 0 points, regardless of who wins.
Fine, fair enough.
Because Rocky, if I'm picking,
I hear that.
No, it doesn't make any. If I'm picking the spread for 2 points, why wouldn't I just pick for 2 points? I could also just pick an underdog, and but that's worth 1 point. See, it's easier to pick an underdog spread than it is to pick them straight up.
Correct.
So there's no value in picking an underdog straight up. You might as well bet their spread.
Unless you're going to predict an upset. That's the answer.
Yeah,
Right.
but that means that they also there has to be 3 other spreads that are better.
Yeah, correct. Well, that's the point. The point is you only get 3 spreads. So
Okay.
I hear where you're coming from. I do. I think that the system can definitely be adjusted. But I guess for now we'll just put your Rams with the spread.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's
All right.
go to Sunday. Let's try to predict the biggest spread of all three of all the
Okay.
games. I think I want to go first. Okay. I think for sure it's got to be the Texans at the Cowboys. It's in Dallas. It's you got the Texans are just. What the heck was that last week? Like, I actually thought Meisty and I were like, the Browns are going to lose this game. I mean, it was 5-0. They're coming off a safety, and there was like at the 1 yard line, the Texans. And then what? A pick 6 for the Browns, a fumble 6 for the Browns, a punt return for a touchdown. Every way you can score other than on offense is what the Browns did. So that was disastrous. Deshaun Watson was horrible, and they still won the game handily. So yeah, the Texans are just not a good football team. I think the Cowboys definitely have the biggest spread here, Meisty. You're probably going to agree with me on that one, I'm assuming.
I think that the Lions have the biggest spread. No,
Right.
I do agree with you, obviously, in this one, that I think that the Cowboys have the biggest spread. What's actually crazier to me is that I don't really think that the Cowboys are going to cover this. Like that's what.
Could I guess what the spread is? I haven't seen it yet. Could I guess it's like, I don't know, minus 16.5?
Wow.
What?
How'd you just nail that?
Is it minus 16.5?
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes I get a good guess every once in a while. No, see, I didn't look at it. I didn't look at the spreads yet. Because I wanted to guess what the biggest spread was.
Maybe I should
That's pretty cool.
questioning the point system here. Rocky knows all.
Just a while. I figured last 2 weeks ago the Chiefs at home got minus 15.5 against the Rams. I figured this would be a little more because the Rams, you still didn't even know if John Wolford was going to play or Matthew Stafford, and they still give him 15.5. So I figured the Cowboys would get more against the Texans team that is obviously not as good as the Rams. They would give them a little more. So that's really where the logic came from. But anyway, so let's do it. Let's roll through the games. Let's start with Jets at Bills. First game. Mo, do you want to take it away after we do Jets at Bills?
Yeah.
Okay. Jets at Bills. I'm going to go with the Bills here. I know that the Bills lost the first game to the Jets, but I still have yet to pick against the Bills the entire season, Meisty. I said in the beginning of the season I'm not going to pick against the Bills the entire season. I have stayed true to that. But to see the Jets sweeping the Bills, I'm sorry, Meisty. I'm not buying it. Give me Josh Allen and the boys to pull this one off at home.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you on this one. I gotta agree with you that the Bills are gonna actually come away with one. The Bills are very beatable. Something's off. Something is interesting. Not sure exactly what it is, but hey.
What's the spread for this one?
The spread is Bills by 9.
It's a big spread. Interesting. I'm not taking that. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Go ahead. I'm just looking.
I'll take the Jets to cover the spread here plus 9. They beat the Bills once. They'll beat them again. I think they're only better than when they played them the first time. So yeah, I mean, I would take them straight up, but give me the points here. And we'll go on to our next game. We have the Browns going into Cincinnati to play the Bengals, who just knocked off the Red Hot Chiefs. Bengals are favored by 6 at home. Rocky, who you got here?
I think there are going to be a lot of people picking the upset this week because just like last week, how Meisty and I both predicted the Bengals to beat the Chiefs simply because the Bengals seem to be the Chiefs' Achilles heel. They're 3-0 against the Chiefs in the last 2 years. The Browns seem to be the Bengals' Achilles heel, right? Problem is Deshaun Watson just did not look good last week, Meisty. I mean, he just looked horrible, and you're not going to get away with having 3 non-offensive touchdowns like you did last week against the Texans. You're not going to get that much luck 2 weeks in a row, or if you will, it's 5% chance. Maybe anything can happen, but I'm not seeing that again. The Bengals' offense is just too hot, and I'm going to go with the Bengals to win this one.
Was it 6? Bengals Browns. This game should be the stupidest game of the week. Browns got so darn lucky last week that they played the Texans. They used all their muscle. They used everything they have. They've dumped. So, give me the Bengals -6.
Yeah, I like that spread also. Give me the Bengals straight up. I'm gonna take a different spread. And we'll move on to our next game. The 1-10-1 Texans going into Dallas to play the Cowboys. Like Rocky said, our biggest spread of the week. Cowboys favored by 16.5. Just to preface this, I think this is the easiest. I'm taking the spread, but the Texans' record has to be 1-11-1, so it's all ones. So this is just a numbers bet for me. Regardless of the Cowboys, regardless of who they're playing, they happen to be playing the Cowboys, but just putting that out there, Rocky.
This happened last year when the Lions were 0-11-1. Remember they tied to the Steelers, and they were 0-11-1, and you predicted them to win because you wanted to be 1-11-1. Exact thing. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna pick the Cowboys here. I'm quite tempted to pick that. We all picked the big line, the 15.5-point line, the Chiefs 2 weeks ago, and they won by 16. So it's gonna be a little scared of these big lines, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys here. Enough said about that one.
Texans are gonna win this football game.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen, baby.
No, I really don't believe that. I think that it's not going to be 16.5 because I think that those turnovers last week aren't going to happen the same way this week. Even though the Cowboys forced more turnovers, that's not how it works. Just because the Browns on this crazy tear of turnovers that were just so ridiculous. Like he didn't even throw the ball. He's like, I don't even know what the guy was doing.
It was out of the ordinary. It was definitely out of the ordinary.
So like, yeah, the Cowboys. It'll be more interesting. It'll be more interesting of a game. It'll probably be a 10-point to 12-point game, but and the Cowboys somehow always make things interesting. They have to because the fans, I have all these fans. So give me the Cowboys to win though.
Okay. I see on the Cowboys, and we'll move on to our. I think we alluded to this earlier. This is an interesting spread. We have the Vikings going in to play the red hot Detroit Lions. Rattling off a few wins in a row, the Lions are favored by 2.5 against the Vikings. Rocky.
Favored? Yeah, I'm just seeing this as news to me. Yeah, that over/under 52.5. Wow, they really think this is gonna be a high-scoring game. I have the Lions written down here, but I want to change my mind because, I think the Lions are gonna be such a hot pick this week, right? I mean, they're favored whenever Vegas starts favoring someone and like catching on to the fact that a team is hot. I just don't feel comfortable with that. So I'm going to go with the Vikings to cover plus 2.5.
Tie.
Oh,
this is your tie?
He's picking his tie game.
My tie. I think the Vikings and Lions.
It's funny.
The issue is picking a tie here is this. It's going to be very high scoring.
Right.
Very high. It's the highest over/under of the week, but besides for the Chargers and Dolphins, it's like a huge over/under, 52.5. I think it goes over that, way over. I think like the Vikings alone score like 50, but like the Lions also might score 50. So we might have a 50-50 tie going into overtime.
So are you going to
I think we have overtime. I have overtime. The issue is that someone's going to score in overtime because these defenses can't stop each other. So however many possessions each team gets, that's how many touchdowns there's probably going to be in the game.
So no punts. You're betting on
maybe
no punts.
Yeah, like a no punt game. Maybe like a one punt team game. I don't know. Maybe I doubt there'll be field goals. Like you gotta be stupid if you go for a field goal in this game, you lose. Whoever kicks more field goals this game loses. It's like
that's interesting.
Yeah. Whoever that is a take. Whoever kicks more field goals is gonna lose
the game.
Interesting take.
Huh. I like that. I'm on that.
So who's gonna win the game?
Oh.
Rocky just wants the
over.
over. He wants the over to win this game.
Vikings.
You know what? I'll take the Lions. I'll take the hometown Lions.
Well, we know Morty's gonna take the Lions.
I
frauds.
mean, no. So now that
Fishing
now that Aaron took the Lions, I don't have to. If you guys both picked the Vikings, I would have, but Aaron covered me here, so I'll take the Vikings. Although I am going to be rooting for the Vikings to lose, obviously,
Same.
along with the Cowboys and the rest of the NFC. But that said, we'll go to our next game, the Jacksonville Jaguars, going into Tennessee to play the Titans, who just lost to the Eagles last week. Just want to remind you. Titans are still only favored by 4. Derrick Henry got shut down last week. He's in quite a slump. Jacksonville had a terrible showing last week against the Lions. I think both of these teams are in bounce back mode. They both really want to win. Rocky, who you got here?
The Jaguars, like Trevor Lawrence, the Ravens game, yes, but also the 2 games before the Ravens game are starting to show signs of life. You know, you even alluded to it before the Ravens game. You're like all of a sudden the hot Jaguars, right, playing against the Ravens, because that's really what happened. Trevor Lawrence all of a sudden started to play ball at a pretty high level, and then last week happened. And you know, and you're like, well, you know, the man when he got injured, Meisty and I both thought the man was out for the season.
Oh,
you know,
it looked so bad.
It looked terrible, and now he's 15 minutes later he's back on the field. You know,
Walking
but
without a limp.
it was horrible. But he didn't. But you know, thank God he's back on the field. He didn't perform at a very high level. That being said, and just overall, the Jaguars are just, you know, you never know what you're gonna get from Trevor Lawrence on a week-to-week basis. So I'm gonna go with the Titans.
You said a whole lot there, but
Did I?
no.
I just said Trevor Lawrence is inconsistent.
No, Trevor Lawrence. There's no such thing as the Jaguars wanting to win. They've been wanting to win since they entered the league in 2000 whatever. So, okay, they don't win. They had 1 year where they got lucky because they had Jalen Ramsey and they somehow sent him off to a different. I don't know how. Either way, Derrick Henry loves playing 2 teams: the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Titans are an actual good team in the NFL. They struggled against the Eagles. They'll struggle against other random teams. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove and the division's on the line, they're gonna give the ball to Derrick Henry and tell him, you better freaking figure it out. So they're gonna run. Throw it to Traylon Burks. He's gonna get hit, get knocked out. Run. Hope Traylon comes back, and that'll be the same game plan as last.
It was an incredible catch.
It was such a catch.
Crazy that he held on to it.
It makes no sense, and he was out. So I think the Titans cover here as well.
All right.
Jacksonville sucked.
They sucked last week.
No, they
I don't know.
suck.
I like Doug Peterson. I think he's good. He's a good quarterback manager. Yeah, he managed to get Carson Wentz through a whole season. Nobody knows how, but
Could we trade Jacksonville Jaguars to England for a soccer team? That'd make me sick. Imagine like they get a football team and we get a soccer team.
Yeah.
whoa,
I'll take it.
that'd be a move.
Just give us like one of these. Give us leads, dude. The coach is American. The owner's an American. They have most American fans. We'll take it. Leeds United for Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, do they come and play here or?
Yeah, their home stadium would be here, and our home stadium, like Leeds United's home stadium will be in America, and
In
Jacksonville's
Duval.
home stadium. Yeah, and they'll have to travel. It'll be like, oh, who's going to for them? It'll be like, oh, who's going to America this week? Oh, and like for Jacksonville, it's the same thing. Like, who gets to go to the England game in Jacksonville?
I like that.
No one would care. Neither of those teams are relevant to their respective leagues.
2 good takes in one
So-
podcast. Look at that.
Yeah.
Aaron is firing on all cylinders tonight.
That's it.
I
He's
don't
feeling
know.
it.
I don't know what it is. But anyways, let's keep moving here.
Who you got?
I'll take the Titans in a bounce back spot. Everybody was on the Titans yet last week, rightfully so. They were looking really good. And that's exactly when the Titans lose. Right now, Titans have lost. They're gonna bounce back. Kick the teeth in for the Jaguars, and we'll move on to our next game. We have the Philadelphia Eagles, 11-1, going into play the New York Giants, 7-4-1. Eagles favored by 7. Rocky, you could give me the 7 right now, and I'd love to hear what you think about this game.
Yeah, I like the Eagles in this one. That was quite an ugly game last week. I actually picked the Titans to beat the Eagles. It was the first time I picked against the Eagles this season. Last week against the Titans. You mentioned that some people were on it. I was on it, but this week, since I doubted them and they just kicked their. I mean, that was unbelievable. It was impressive on a couple even if the Eagles I suspect the Eagles could obviously beat the Titans. They're a better team. I just like the upset, but most teams don't whoop the Titans. They whoop them, which was impressive, And even there were 2 throws last week where Jalen Hurts threw to AJ Brown. It's like they weren't particularly good throws, but AJ Brown comes down with it. One time he sort of threw it on his back shoulder, and it wasn't a perfectly accurate throw. But you have playmakers like that. I mean, you don't even need a perfectly accurate quarterback. It's just very scary what the proposition the Eagles have right now. They're definitely the best team in the NFC, if you ask me. And I think they're going to beat the Giants.
So first of all, the Eagles' injuries are starting to pile up, with Lane Johnson going down, and now and what's the name from the secondary. But in general, obviously they're playing the Giants, and the Giants aren't. The Eagles can play their entire bench pretty much and still beat the Giants. But what I do think is that the Eagles' offense is going to put up 45 points. They're coming over under alone.
That's a take. That's a take.
It's not a crazy take. I've seen it been done before. I've seen it been done in college football where the over under was 60 something and a team covered it by themselves. So I don't know. I think it can happen here too, and I think it will. And I think I'll take the Eagles to win.
Move on to our next game. We got you have me as Eagles.
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, I have the spread there. Ravens going into Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. The Steelers are favored by 2.5 points. Over under is 37. Rocky.
I tell you what, guys, this is my tie, and I'll tell you why. You have a perfect tie spot right here. Okay.
Oh no.
Yes, this is my tie. Number one, it's Ravens Steelers. So they always end in 3-point games. So you already know it's going to end in a 3-point game. That you can pretty much put in. So we're close, just someone kicking a field goal and bringing it to overtime, right? Number two, you have Tyler Huntley in there. The Ravens offense with Tyler Huntley is efficient yet very slow moving and very methodical, right? So although you had the one bad interception last week against the Broncos, in general, Tyler Huntley does a pretty good job, but you're not getting too many big plays from him. You're generally not scoring too many points. Same thing with the Steelers. Deontay Johnson's also injured this week. But you have Kenny Pickett, George Pickens. You could do a couple things. You probably won't score too many points. It just seems like a perfect tie spot, Meisty. So I'm picking the tie.
George Pickens is going to pick us apart limb for limb.
I'm excited for that matchup, Humphreys against George Pickens. That'll be pretty cool.
Reason? Okay. Can I page the Ravens for a second? Oh, Ravens, can we talk about something quick? Is there a reason why the best receiver, okay, every single play is not covered by Marlon Humphrey? Randomly, there's some guy named Deshaun Stevenson's or random guys taking these number one receivers, and I'm like, what are we doing? And then then the Ravens have these better ideas. We'll put 2 guys who can't cover on one guy and see if 2 guys can cover. No, they still just can't cover. They're just getting number one receiver every single week, every single game should have Marlon Humphrey, or at least if you're gonna put someone else, it's Marcus Peters, but not really. Marlon Humphrey, one-on-one with these guys all day, lock it down.
I think that schematically, it's not really possible to have one guy lined up on one guy the entire game. They move receivers around, they move corners around, especially Marlon Humphrey plays in the slot a lot. They do a lot of different things with him. He plays in the box sometimes even. So it's not that simple. You can't just put one-on-one. Yes, I agree. They should make every effort to make sure he's on the best receiver. That is true, but it's not technically possible, really.
And get me someone who can do that, because I've seen it before.
No, it has nothing to do with the cornerback. It has to do with scheme.
Yeah. That's what Darrelle Revis, who always follows people around. You want to be on that level, get on the level. Otherwise,
Darrelle Revis is if there ever been.
No, then stop acting like you're the best in the league. You're not. You have to be able to cover someone all day, every day. Dude, did you watch Jalen Ramsey last week? He was all day. Yeah, very few times because they were in a zone. Fine, but all day he was with DK Metcalf. All day. Did he get completely ate? Yeah. So what? DK Metcalf he's just a dog, right? So he destroyed Jalen Ramsey, but the bottom line is that Jalen Ramsey was all over him. Now, at
Who
the
you
same
got?
time, if the Ravens score a touchdown, down 1, no, with 2 seconds on the clock, are we going to go for 2 for the win or not this time? Are we starting that again this year? Because you know
Yeah.
it's gonna be, we're going for it, right, Rocky?
Yeah, so not even gonna hesitate. Harbaugh can miss it 10 times. Harbaugh can miss it 10 times. He'll still go for it.
It's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. You know, and that's why the Ravens will cover the +2.5. That is why you're right. That Ravens, but if they get it, then they'll get the money line. And I think that it's finally time that they're gonna get it. So give me the Ravens money line.
Okay. What do you got,
Alright.
Morgan?
I'll take the Steelers at home. Anyways, we have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wait. I'm taking the Steelers. I'll tell you why. Meisty made a very good point here. I'm not using my tie here. Because the Ravens are going to go for 2 if they have a chance to win it.
And also, if they do
I'm
go
not
to
going to go to
overtime,
overtime.
and like, even if they went to overtime, the Ravens win in overtime because unless the Steelers score, because Justin Tucker, you just need to get 20 yards and get Tucker a chance.
True. Forget about it. No tie this week. I'll save it for another week. All right, let's go.
Okay. Kansas City Chiefs going in to play the Denver Broncos. Chiefs favored by 9.5. Over under 43. Rocky.
Only the Broncos can force Patrick Mahomes out of prime time. I mean, that is remarkable. A remarkable achievement. I applaud them. Yeah, give me the Chiefs -9.5. I actually really like this spread. I know people are going to look at it and be like, well, the Broncos have shut down everyone this year, right? They've allowed average like 12, 13 points a game, which they have. Their defense has been remarkable. But can they do that against Patrick Mahomes? They haven't played them yet this year, but I just have a hard time thinking against most offenses that aren't fantastic. I think that the Broncos defense can sustain, but it's an offensive league nowadays, so I think good offense beats good defense, and I think the Chiefs are going to cover 9.5.
That's a crazy thing to say, but I'll just take the Chiefs to win. I don't know. No, like 9.5 points. Like you really think that the Broncos defense isn't holding them enough? Also, by the way,
20 to 10.
again, Rocky, we're back to this take of division football where Russell Wilson has to score a touchdown eventually. He has to start catching up.
Or does he?
He now needs to average a touchdown. What do you see this?
Yeah, a touchdown a game. A touchdown a game a week.
And you'll have as many bathrooms as touchdowns.
Because the bathrooms are killing. They're killing touchdowns.
Man's got 12 bathrooms in his house. Not enough touchdowns. Time to get rid of a bathroom.
Yeah, that's the only way he's gonna make it at this point. I like the spread here just because I think the Broncos defense is just sick and tired. They show up every single game, and for the whole time everyone's like, let Russ cook. They're done. No, they're over. They're quitting. They're just gonna be like, you know what? Fine. They're gonna give him a half. They say like, we're gonna give you a half to get a touchdown. No touchdown, no more defense.
I like that. I like it a lot more. I like the logic. I like where your head's at. That's a good one. Yeah.
All right. So I'm taking the Chiefs. And we'll move on if we're all done here to our Sunday afternoon games. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go in to play the San Francisco 49ers. Niners only favored by 3.5. I guess that kind of does make sense as the Bucs are struggling. Niners without a quarterback. We did have our whole Niners bit already, but Rocky, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady led a miracle Tom Brady, and only Tom Brady does on national television Monday night, right? They're down by 14 with less than 5 minutes left, or they're down by 16 rather. They're down by 13. They're down by 13 with less than 5 minutes left. Bucs couldn't move the ball the entire game, Meisty. And all of a sudden, 5 minutes left, they look like freaking the best offense in football. I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, all of a sudden, all the receivers that have been nowhere to see in the entire season, now you're throwing to them? Now these guys, Scotty Miller, now these guys are making plays, and you score 14 points in like 3 minutes and win the game? So anyway, Tom Brady just seems to turn it on when he needs to. I'm picking the Bucs here.
It was 7 minutes, and it wasn't such a crazy comeback win. It was not that crazy. Okay, the Saints were never in the Saints. Like there was never a doubt in my mind that the Bucs had a chance, right? The fact that they had Tom Brady obviously helps that out. But any team could have beaten the Saints there. Any team could have done that because the bottom line is the Saints are not a good football team. So like they yes they had 16 points, but like their defense was just being very lucky in getting.
Meisty, there were 3 minutes left when they scored the first touchdown. The Bucks. 3 minutes left in the game.
I thought it was 7.
Okay.
Yeah,
Either way,
I knew
still through 3 minutes. Then they got the ball right back, whatever. And Brady, and you knew when Brady got the ball back for sure he was going to.
Let's put it like this, Meisty. Let's put it like this. They started their second to last drive at their own 9-yard line with 5 minutes and 21 seconds left. At their own 9, down by 13. The odds of that happening are very slim, Meisty.
They did get like a 40-yard DPI.
No, you need luck along the way. You need that. It's the only way to do
I'm
it.
saying they didn't drive the full length of the field. They drove about half.
No. Granted, point being that it's just Tom Brady seems to make plays when he needs to. Obviously, there was some help along the way, but he just seems to always turn on.
49ers this game. If they can get ahead the way the Saints did, their defense is good enough to hold the Bucks. So I don't see Tom Brady getting anything done this game. I think we're going to see the same Tom Brady we've seen all season long, with struggles and it's just not going to be a pretty game. If the 49ers had a quarterback, I would say they'd cover, but I don't know for sure that they're going to cover. So I'm going to take the.
You have 2 more spreads.
I should have 1 more spread.
You did the Bengals -6. Did you do anyone else? Ravens? Oh, you did the Ravens.
The Raiders.
Raiders? Raiders -6? You had that one? All right, you'll think about it.
No, I didn't do Raiders -6. I did.
Bengals minus.
Bengals -6 and Titans -4.
Right. Oh, Titans -4. Okay. All right, who you got more?
Okay. Yeah, it's crazy that the Bucks are gonna be like in the playoffs at 6-6, and especially after losing this game to the Niners. The Niners at home. Give me the Niners. And we'll just move on. Next game. This should be an interesting matchup. The Carolina Panthers going to play the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks only favored by 3.5 at home. Meisty, what do you think about that line? Do you think it should be a bigger line, or do you think this is accurate?
Put it up to 4 at most, but if you ask, I don't know, 4.5. It's not the worst line, because somehow Seattle randomly just does Seattle things and struggle, but at the same time right now I think that you know what, it's like this. The Seahawks are the Seahawks. Sorry, someone screamed from outside. The Seahawks are always in a close game, and they're always I don't know. Geno Smith has come down a little bit from the Geno Smith that we know. Rocky's gonna pull some numbers wazoo coming up at me in a minute, but there's definitely been a drop off from Geno Smith.
You better believe it, baby.
I'm still gonna take the Seahawks.
So Geno Smith has certainly not played as well the last few weeks as he has earlier in the season. I caught you off guard, didn't I? But he's still. The reality is he's still. If you take everything in the scope, I think the first 2 months of the season for Geno Smith, he had 4 really good games in there, right? And then the last month hasn't been as good, but even last week he did play pretty well against the Rams. I mean, I know it was a close game against the Rams team with a backup quarterback, but he played well, made a lot of big plays offensively. So he's got 25 big time throws, 17 turnover worthy plays this year. That's a good number. That's up there, probably top 10 quarterback in the league this year, borderline top 10. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm still not betting against him yet against the Panthers team. You're right. They randomly mess up and they randomly lose these games, but I'm still gonna go with the Seahawks.
All right. Yeah, you can give me the Seahawks here. Just Geno Smith ain't writing back, so we'll move on to our Sunday night game. The Miami Dolphins go in to play the Los Angeles Chargers. We have the Chargers. We have the Dolphins favored by 3 in LA. Rocky, what are your thoughts?
I like the Dolphins to cover this 3. I think that the Chargers are a very tricky team to figure out this year, but they haven't really beat anyone good. The only two good games have been competitive with are the Chiefs. For some reason, they're always competitive with the Chiefs. They lost both games, but they were very competitive with them. And the Chargers' injuries have derailed them. They didn't have Mike Williams, Keenan Allen for half the year. J.C. Jackson out for the year. So many injuries on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive line. It's just so many injuries, man. And I know Tua looked really bad last week, but I'm looking for a little better of a game from him this week to beat the Chargers on SNF.
I think this is such a good game. There's something about Justin Herbert that like he's always like up for the moment. He's always up for the challenge.
True.
Makes big time throws in big time moments. But I'm still going to take the Dolphins to win this one.
All right, so I guess it's Dolphins across the board here. I think Tua is going to have a bounce back week. And we'll move on to Monday night. We have New England Patriots going in to play the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals have been all over the place this season. Rocky, what are your thoughts?
So the reason that this is such a big game for me is because Kyler Murray is my quarterback, and I have to win this week to make the fantasy playoffs. So that'll be my vested interest in this game. So most people will look at it and be like, "Oh, such a boring game, Patriots Cardinals." I'm looking at it and be like, "Are you kidding me? I'm looking forward to this game." Like, imagine I'm down by 20 going into Monday Night Football. I have Kyler Murray. I need him to have a good game. So that's gonna be. I'm gonna be on my feet the whole time. I'm gonna be shaking in my boots. Anyway, I'm going with the Patriots.
An interest. Yeah, Meisty, go, and then I'll give you an interesting stat for the betting.
So the reason why I'm looking forward to this game is a completely different situation. Because when all my other projections hit, right, and I'm sitting there with money on the line being like, oh my gosh, Cardinals just have to cover 2.5 points and I win all this money. So that's why this game is so important to me, because it's the last leg of my parlay. It's going to win all the money. So Cardinals plus 2.5. And is there a faulty system? How do I beat the faulty system here, Marty?
I'm seeing 1.5 on Yahoo. Let me check ESPN. I see they're both at 1.5. Okay, so Aaron has my 2.5.
Wait, but Meisty, you have one spread. You want to use this one?
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Ew. What is this?
All right, Morty, who you got?
Yeah, Rocky, like you, I have like my last player is Ramondre Stevenson on Monday night. I do not like waiting until Monday night to know if I won. Hopefully, I'll have it locked down before then. But interesting betting stat I'm seeing here: 82% of the money line bets are on New England. 86% of the spread bets are on Arizona plus 1.5.
Really? And it's such a small spread also. That's why this one makes that more compelling. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
The only chance New England has is by winning by 2 points.
Yeah, give me the.
Maybe that's top of the game.
Give me the give me the Patriots here.
At least we have the Manning cast, right?
That's true.
That sort of makes up for it. All right, do you want to do Meistys Moneyline, Meisty, or?
Yeah. This week's
Moneyline.
This week's on Meisty. Welcome to Meistys Moneyline. We are not responsible for your gambling. If you have any issues, call 1-800-GAMBLERS. They'll take good care of you. They do not give advice for gambling. We tried.
Get a therapist for that, I guess, right?
And yes, you can ask your therapist for a football pick. He'll help you. So the Titans -4 is my. Oh, in Meistys Moneyline, we do not pick money lines, right? We pick spreads, and we're gonna go -4 to the Titans is my spread.
Interesting. I got the Vikings. I think that you're giving them points, even though the lines are hot. I know people love that offense and see Jared Goff's still not that good, right? He's sort of good fit for that offense, and you like what St. Brown is doing there. I like the lines, but if you're giving the Vikings over 2 points against a team, they're probably much better than I'm going to take the Vikings plus 2.5. That's what I'm liking this week. You got anything, Morty?
Yeah, give me the Eagles -7. I think the Titans are just a much better team than the Giants. If they're able to stop Derrick Henry, they can definitely stop Saquon.
Are the Eagles even good?
I mean,
we should do power rankings.
If you ignore their record, it's questionable.
Right. Just a small factor,
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, ignore the record; they're not good.
They've beaten the second best record.
The Vikings, they killed them. It's the Cowboys that took.
Overall,
they beat the Cowboys. They beat the Vikings. They beat the Titans.
No, but the Cowboys also beat the second best team in the NFC. Cowboys beat the Vikings. Remember they killed them. That was 2 weeks ago.
So did the Eagles.
That's true.
Beat the Jaguars, who beat the Ravens, and the Ravens beat, the Ravens had a 17-point lead against Buffalo, who had also. Yeah, okay, so where are we at? What are we doing? All right. Oh, they tied the Colts, tied the Giants, or whatever. So, first of all, push comes to shove. Okay, you break it all down. You take away the record. The Eagles are just not a good football team. All right, they'll be a first-round exit or second-round exit because they'll get the bye.
They'll get the bye because they're that good.
It's not very hard to get the bye these days.
Who's beating them? Who's beating them in the division?
They're gonna play the Giants in the first round, Meisty, or the
No, they're gonna play the Cowboys. In the divisional round.
The Cowboys will have the first wild card. They won't play. They'll have the first seed. They'll play.
They're not gonna play in the wild card round. They're gonna play in the round.
Yeah, forget what I said. Right, they might play the Cowboys. You're right. They might play the Cowboys.
It all depends who they play, but if they play, most likely, I think it'll be probably be the Cowboys.
At the end of the day, the Eagles got a good shot this year because Brady and Rodgers aren't. Brady might be in the playoffs, but Rodgers is not going to be in the playoffs this year. Brady doesn't look effective this year, so it's like a new wave. It's a new wave. It's wide open here.
The way the Packers are playing right now, they're headed to the playoffs.
I got news for you. The Eagles have a much better chance of making the Super Bowl than the Ravens do.
Oh, I don't even know.
Aaron, give me two teams that aren't the Bills or the Chiefs that are better than the Eagles.
It's not about that in general. Well, first of all, the Cowboys.
You just said the Eagles aren't that good.
On paper, the Cowboys are just one of the best teams in the NFL, right?
And
I think that the lights with as long as Kirk Cousins doesn't fall asleep in the lights, then the Vikings can beat them technically when it comes down to
two teams that the Eagles have already beat are better than the Eagles. Okay,
I agree with that. Right. I think other than the Bills and Chiefs, aren't.
Well, welcome to the playoffs. The Ravens were 14-2 or whatever it was, and going into the playoffs, and they got their toes whopped.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's a style. It's a style of play when you're relying very heavily on your quarterback to make certain things happen for you. Now, it does help to have AJ Brown. It does help to
rely on the quarterback.
They're not relying on the quarterback at all. When Jalen can't throw, they've had one of the most prolific running games in the NFL.
Huh? You'll see in the playoffs. You guys can argue with me all you want here, but I'm telling you right now, when they play the Cowboys in the playoffs, they will get mopped.
Okay.
The Eagles get mopped in the division round. They're not a good football team. They haven't had a moment this season that was like moment of diversity. Like, oh my gosh, backs against the wall. What are we gonna do? They played garbage teams. Okay, you're saying, ooh. And didn't they play the Cowboys? They played the Cowboys without Dak Prescott.
All of a sudden Dak Prescott is an amazing quarterback? Would you rather have Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts? Tell me.
Second of all, you brought up the point that the Cowboys beat them already. Okay. But let's see with Dak. Dak's back. They'll have OBJ probably by then. Let's see.
No.
Well, I see. Whatever happens in the playoffs, the Eagles could easily lose.
Who said the Vikings was going to win the division? I think I'm pretty good with my predictions out here. Okay. All right.
No. What I'm saying is they're not mutually exclusive. The Eagles can easily lose in the first round. Anyone can lose a game. Of course they could. They can. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but to sit here and say the Eagles aren't a good football team, and even if they exit in the second round, it doesn't mean they're not a good football team. It just means they had a bad game, or the other team had a better game. Whatever the heck it means. To sit here and say they're not a good football team when they clearly are. And by the way, Jalen Hurts has been a top 10 passer in football this year. But if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields, he'd be the best rushing quarterback in the league this year. Their secondary has been taking up a step up every single week. Now they brought Sue in. Now they brought veterans in. The running game has been better. What are you talking about? I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but to say they're not a good football team, have you been watching them? They killed the Titans last week. They killed the Titans, who nobody's been able to kill. They killed the Vikings. Okay? All the other games have been easily beat. Fine. But they killed all those teams. Every team they played, pretty much, they've killed. You can't say they're not a good football team. They have a great roster. They might not win the Super Bowl, but they're a good football team. You best believe it.
No. Let's see what Aaron
has. Eagles are not a good football team.
Okay. You can say whatever you want without any stats to back it up. You can go ahead and do that.
It's not a stat thing. It's on paper thing. They're just not a good football team.
What you just said, it's not a stat thing, but it's on paper.
All you're saying is they're not a good football team. Why? Explain. Elaborate, please.
Put your names all down on a piece of paper. Look at the NFL. Compare it to the rest of these teams. They're not that
Yeah,
good.
they have one of the best offensive lines in football.
What?
Great secondary.
Yeah, no, I see. You're not going to see an
Okay.
argument here.
You want here. Let's talk the Eagles
Hey,
for a
you
second.
saw how much
Ready?
the run defense changed with
You
Jordan
wanna
Davis
talk-
back in?
No, let's talk about the Eagles for a second. Rocky got his little spiel in. Let's
Go
see.
ahead, I'm waiting.
Let's see. The Eagles this year, they played the Lions, and they almost lost. They played the Vikings in week 2. Okay.
They destroyed.
Right,
Did they almost lose to the Vikings? Did they just barely win?
Are you talking or am I talking? Then they played the Commanders with Carson Wentz. Wow, they beat them. Then they scraped past the Jaguars. Wow. Then they beat they scraped past the Cardinals. They barely beat Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. They beat the Steelers nicely. Okay, very nice. Then they did an okay win against the Texans. Then they lost to the Commanders. Oh, and then they barely scraped past the Colts. Okay, and then they played the nice game against the Packers. All right, who aren't either that great. And then they won the Titans, who should have played a much better game and struggled. Fine. Tell me one game there that you're like, wow, that was a sick win. That was impressive.
Yeah, you breezed right past the Vikings game where they crushed the Vikings.
In week 2, the Vikings were not a good team.
They had the same
They were
players.
barely screwed. Okay, and because the Vikings since then have been a very good team.
Wait a second. I just want to show. I have the Ravens schedule here. They beat the Jets. Whoa, they beat the Jets. Oh, they lost the Dolphins. Beat the Patriots. Whoa, they beat the Patriots. Wait, they lost to the Bills. Okay, beat the Bengals. One good win of the season. Oh, lost to beat the Browns. Whoa, the Bucks. Oh, wow, the Bucks. The Saints, the Panthers. They beat the Broncos. Whoa, remarkable wins. Wow, this is just remarkable.
Rocky. Did I say?
Your strategy.
Rocky, did I say the Ravens are a good football team? Rocky, did I say? No, I think the Ravens have been an awful football team this year. They've been god awful this year.
Not true either. I'm into you today.
Awful. The Ravens have been a god awful football team this year. If you think the Ravens have had a good season, they've been not even close to living up to their expectations this year.
Like
They were much better. They were hugely. Yes, they've been playing okay football, but they've not been good this year. Okay, so don't talk. I'm not comparing the Eagles to the Ravens. Look
Who are you comparing the
Chiefs.
Eagles to? I'm
Chiefs
curious.
are a good football team. The Chiefs are a good football team. Look what they do to teams. Look at them. It's a whole different game.
I'm curious.
Right? Don't the Ravens. I didn't compare them to the darn Ravens. I didn't compare them to
Who are
anyone.
you comparing them to?
I didn't compare them to the chart.
I have no energy to argue this anymore.
Yeah. Who are you comparing them to, Aaron?
Bad football team. You're comparing them to a bad average Ravens team.
Yeah, because
Chiefs are a good football team. The Dolphins are a better football team than them. Barely. But look at what these other teams did. The Eagles have done nothing this year that says to me, besides beat the Vikings, that says to me, wow,
Titans
this
are
is a
pretty
really
good also.
Oh, by the way, okay, I'll tell you what the Eagles have done. They have the best pass blocking unit in the league. They have the second to best run blocking unit in the league. They have the fourth best coverage unit in the league. They have the second best pass rusher unit in the league. They have the, let's see,
Biggest
13th best run defense in the league.
point
They have
differential.
overall the third best defense in the league.
Rocky,
I mean, they have the second best offense in the league.
Rocky Friedman.
What are you judging yours based off of?
Rocky,
Just because they
I
happen
know.
to beat the teams they should have beat, so they're bad? What does that even mean? What type of logic is that?
Boys, I could go pick up every squeezy kid in downtown Baltimore right now, and against this Eagles schedule, right, put up the same numbers as the Eagles defense. Okay, I can find the big black kid.
I'm done with this.
Big black kid on the corner that takes over for Lane Johnson. Okay, I can find another guy to play court. I can do it all. These guys are capable. This schedule sucks. They've done nothing on this schedule that says to me, wow, this is the best football team in the league. And no, you know what the truth is? They're not going to get the opportunity because now they get to play the Giants, Bears. They get to play the Cowboys, which could be an impressive win. That could be a very impressive win if they go to the Cowboys and beat them, which will probably end up being a Sunday night football game, right? Then they play the Saints and the Giants. So those games are fine. So once again, it comes down to, I'm telling you right now, when it comes to the playoffs, they've had 0 times, unless the Cowboys game is the one game that might be if they can beat the Cowboys in Cowboys Stadium, I'll be like, okay, this is a good football team. They have a good chance now. But the bottom line is, they've done nothing this season yet to say to me, wow, such a good football team. yes, the NFC in general, they got lucky. They're in the schedule, and NFC in general this year has been awful. Brady's not there. Brady's barely there. Rodgers has been struggling, and he's coming back to life. All it's been is their competition is the Vikings, and they beat them. So
All right. We'll have to agree to disagree because I have no energy left to. I have to go number one, but number two, I have no energy left to argue this. So you've made your point, I've made on my point, Morty's made his point, and we'll wrap it up there. So maybe we'll have to do another. We'll have to separate the Eagles podcast and put that as one separate episode, and then do the rest.
We'll have it as a bonus.
We'll have it as a bonus plus bonus segment, and if for all those that waited till the end, I mean that's pretty impressive. But you would have had the advantage of knowing what the bonus segment is. All right, thank you for joining us, everyone. Week 14 in the NFL coming up. Of course, remember to subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all those all your preferred platforms and stuff like that. So till next time, everyone. Enjoy your weekends.